Hello, I'm Stephen Collins. You know, every small town has legends. Those stories are shared over the dinner table, at Friday night football games, shared with friends and family. And this is Hollow in the Hill, where we believe that those stories truly matter. And we're going to visit people, places, and things to bring those stories to you.
Before the lights flick on, before the pins crash down, there's a place where stories have echoed for over 60 years. This isn't just a bowling alley. This is where Danville grew up. Built in the early 60s by a man with a vision, Danville Bowlarama has survived decades of change. But at the heart of it is one family, fighting to keep the lanes alive. It's where friendships were made, rivalries were born, first dates, last dances, and lifelong stories, all rolled out frame by frame. For some, it was Friday night. For others, it was everything. And now, one man stands at the head of those lanes, holding the past in one hand and the future in the other, fighting not just for survival, but for something worth remembering.
Hi, I'm Stephen Collins with Hollow in the Hill. You may recognize the lanes behind me, although they're empty now. Most of the time they're filled with families, laughter, and fun. We're going to be interviewing Zach today, the owner and operator of Danville Bowlarama. So my name is Stephen Collins. This is episode 3 of Hollow in the Hill, and we are currently at the Danville Bowlarama with Zach, and we're going to hear a little bit about his story and how the Bowlarama got started, and things. So Zach, tell us a little bit of that history. As far as my understanding, it opened in the '60s. Is that correct?
1960.
1960. Okay.
When it opened, I remember, and then they had like their a December 15th, I think, of 1960. Grand opening was in August of '61. And coming the front door over this direction, there's a newspaper article that a gentleman brought in that we had framed from the grand opening in August of '61. Had a lot of big popular known figures statewide. I think Kay Wood-Letford was a guest speaker that day.
Oh, wow.
And it's above, if you stop in, just take a peek at it. It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, opened in '60, grand opening in '61. My family got involved, I think, in the late '60s. My grandfather was running the place. Originally, it was a group of investors that was involved that built the place, and then my grandfather got involved in managing late '60s. And then my mom came along when she graduated high school and started managing the place for a guy named Jim Phillips at Campbellsville.
Okay.
He owned Phillips Lanes, which is,
Yes.
it's not Phillips Lanes anymore, but it's still open in Campbellsville. And then managed it for about 10 years and then bought it in '85. And it's been my mom, dad, grandma, and grandfather bought it in '85. My grandparents have passed away, so it's just my mom and dad own it now. And I've ran it for them for 7, 8, 9 years, give or take a little bit. Been here my whole life, but been in charge of most everything for about 7 or 8 years now. Right.
Very good. Now, you told me that you had went to school at Lindsey Wilson in Columbia.
I did. 2005.
Okay. And so, was it your intent when you were in college to maybe run the bowling alley at that time, or did you have a different plan at that time?
Well, at some point in time, growing up in a bowling center, you feel like I felt obligated to be a bowler. And at the time, we had some kids from here that were going to Lindsey Wilson to bowl. So I was like, let's go to college to bowl. And when I quickly got there, I realized that I just wasn't the best decision for me.
Okay.
So they had a college bowling team, still have a college bowling team.
Right.
I bowled for them for a year and realized it was time for me to come back home and help do some things here. And that was in 2005. So I just came back and got to work and started doing some stuff here. And my roles just gotten bigger every year, and then like I say, took over a lot. My parents have had some health issues and things go on. They're still around, but they're not as involved. They're here some, but not a lot. So at that point in time, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I was going to Lindsey Wilson to bowl, and we were going to figure out a plan after that. But I realized about a year in it wasn't the thing for me.
I got you. So I have to assume then, growing up in the bowling alley, I think you mentioned to me maybe your diaper might have been changed on one of the tables.
Yeah, I guarantee it has. And then,
but growing up in that environment and things from that young age, and then realizing that maybe that wasn't the path that would be productive for you later on.
sure.
What kind of feelings and things did that bring in?
Well, it's hard, you know. Growing up in here and seeing a lot of competitive bowling go on throughout my younger years, it made me have this drive and this itch to maybe pursue a career as a bowler.
Right.
One thing I quickly figured out, if you're going to be successful in this business, it's hard to be a competitive bowler and run a bowling business, because the times that you need to be away competing and doing those things are the times that you need to be here. So I kind of crossed paths at some point. Now, I still bowl a little bit, not anything like I would like to, not anything like I used to, but it made me realize that my family, and I feel like this community, I feel like this is a staple in this town, and for this place to operate and do what things that need to be done, I need to be here. Now I get out and bowl a little bit here and there, but not like I would envision that I would have years ago. So, but it's okay. I mean, I've changed my mentality. So when I go, I'm not in there with if wherever I'm at bowling, I'm not in there with the mentality of making a career of it. I'm just doing it as a hobby or an enjoyment and things. So that's where I'm at this point in time.
So you had mentioned, whenever you opened the bowling alley, that it was opened by a group of investors.
It was.
Years ago in the 60s. Of course, anyone from Kentucky knows who Caitlin Lester did.
Sure.
From the Wildcats and on. But with that being said, and the impact that the place has had in the community, tell us one of your most memorable moments from whenever you were younger, growing up here, that just kind of stands out more so than another.
Just, there's certain things that stand out to me, and I still remember as a small kid, I could come out of the game room or come out of the office in the back, and I could see my mom, my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother, all here, hands-on, doing things together. And I can't, remember the specifics, but there's a few times that you saw that happen. My dad, was involved, but he didn't work here. He had, another job. He, was a part owner in the place. So, I mean, having all four of them here at one time made me, as I got older, and those times that I could see that happen were fewer and further between. But it was moments like those that made me realize that I wanted to do something like this. I wanted to try to carry on. Now, things are different now than they were then about the operation side of things and stuff. But I think I crossed a path then that made me realize, it was moments like those that, things that stick out to me. There's a lot, and I really enjoy being here and seeing people come through the front door. And they all want to tell me stories about how they grew up here. Well, I hung out here all the time. Well, I remember cruising through this parking lot, and we'd go uptown on Main Street, and we would turn around and roll in and come. It started out, I told people, if I had $1 for every time I heard that story, I would be all right. Now I'm down to about maybe a nickel.
If I had
a nickel for every time, and I'm sure we're pushing a penny at some point in time.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's just the people. We got a lot of regulars, a lot of the same faces that are here, and I mean, that's what makes me want to do this, is because it's been around, and I just got a passion and a drive for bowling and just doing something for this town, because I feel like this is an iconic place in this town.
When you have folks that come to you and mention things like what you just said, where I remember doing this and I remember doing that, that's such a testament to the longevity and really the environment of the place. And if you had a nickel for each one of them, I think it's a good testament to the longevity and the environment of the place, because, when people do that, they're relaying heartfelt emotion to you for something that ties deeply to them, and things. And I think that's a great testament to the Bowlarama and the memories that people have, and things. And y'all do birthday parties and social gatherings, I imagine, or meetings and things possibly, and all that here too.
Absolutely.
So,
We do it all. I mean, I just remember being on the phone. We scheduled a 50th class reunion coming up in October. I just remember, but there's all sorts of things. Like you said, birthday parties, group outing. I mean, it's more than just a bowling business is what it is. I mean, the restaurant and what they're able to do with lunch specials and stuff every day, homemade pies and things. I mean, just you name it. Like it does feel like a gathering place to me, because you get a lot of the same people that sit at the same table in the same chair every day.
right.
From just city employees, various city employees to just regulars that are here. So I mean, you get to know these people and you get to care for these people and build a relationship with them that's really second to none. I mean, those are the people that you become friends with and just build a relationship with that make me want to do what I do.
Right. Well, you had mentioned Mr. Phillips down in Campbellsville.
Yep, Jim Phillips.
And of course, I grew up in Adair County, the home of Lindsey Wilson. And I remember a lot of times younger being at Phillips Lane down there and things. And a lot of the memories that I had, and I'm sure a lot of people here in Boyle County have the same memories here. The nostalgic look of the place here.
Mm-hmm.
It's as if y'all have kind of more or less tried to leave it true to the original as possible.
Correct. And it's funny that you mentioned that. It's going to keep the same look, but as of 1st of August, we're getting an entire new scoring system and stuff. It's going to keep the same look, but it's going to have a newer feel.
I got you.
I was kind of between a rock and a hard place with that because I go to a lot of bowling centers. If we're on vacation or out of town, it's nothing for me just to look up a random bowling center that's close by just to stop in. I want to look, see what it looks like, see what it feels like, and you can kind of get a vibe off of just the way a place looks. And I pretty much fell in love with the look and the vibe of this place, but we're at a crossroads of the computer systems and the things that we've got. It was time to upgrade. So just coming up here in a few weeks, it's still going to have the same feel with just a more modern look. But yes, I mean, it does. Like a lot of places now are all one level, pretty flat. But this is probably one of the very few places in the world that are actually a true venue for a spectator. Right. So, we do a lot of tournaments and high school bowling events and things, and a lot of people comment that they enjoy coming here because it's easy to see. It's just, it was like in 1960 when the place was built, it was built to be a bowling center.
Right.
And I'm, that's why I'm doing what I am to keep this place a bowling center and keep it rolling.
Now, Zach, since then, do you have any memories of maybe some well-known bowlers who have bowled here or have stopped in at times?
For sure. I mean, we run some tournaments and things throughout the year, and some higher end tournaments that will bring in several professional bowlers. There's been some big time names come through here over the years. I mean, I could think, just to throw a name out, I'm really good friends with Matt Ogle. He's out of Louisville. He's a two-time PBA champion, and he's in here often bowling in tournaments. And there'll be some, just to drop his name because I talk to him often, consider him a good friend of mine. But we've got, you never know. Like, we have these tournaments, and if you can hit the right weekend with nothing going on, you'll never know who's going to walk through these front doors, and you'd be surprised the amount of people that aren't even competing in these tournaments that show up just to try to get a picture or get an autograph or whatever with some of these people. Right. They just show up unannounced too. You never know who's going to stop in, it's. Then there may be times when I was younger, I didn't recognize somebody, so I can't tell you who's been here and who hasn't, but I know for sure there's been 3, 4, 5 touring pros that have been here in the last 4 or 5 years for sure.
You said like going on vacation, you like to check out other bowling centers and things like that. And so a lot of times when I'm on vacation or I'm out of town, I always want to know what's that little spot that the locals know of.
Correct.
And from what you're telling me here, it seems like this is kind of one of those spots, a little hidden gem within the bowling community.
I think so.
And things. And a lot of times when you get into for lack of a better way to say it, I would say secondary sports. In other words, it's not football, it's not basketball, okay? then you have a very niche community within those sports, you know, whether it be archery or bowling, for example, or different things. And so to have a place to where your constituents within that field feel comfortable to come in, and it's like, you know what, let's just take a drive down to Danville this afternoon or something like that, you know, I think it's a very strong testament also to the legacy and things that has been built here in Danville that, you know, there's so many times here in Kentucky we have those little sweet spots that, you know, we know about.
Sure.
But maybe we don't appreciate as much because we're not exposed to the greater picture of it. From the, you know, sometimes you're in the aquarium, you don't see outside the aquarium, so to speak.
I mean, I've picked up on that, a few hole-in-the-wall restaurants here and there off the beaten path, you know, that I enjoy going to, that I go there for a certain thing. And I feel like we've got people that come here for what we have to offer that do that. And I mean, you can see, like I was saying, you know, with the regulars and the people that are here every single day. Right. And just going to say it, you know, I feel like our restaurant and the food and things is wonderful, but it gets old eating the same stuff, and we get the same people that are in here ordering the same thing every day. But, you know, and it's people like that, like I say, that keep my drive and my passion and my love for this business make me do what I do.
So you was talking about a while ago about upgrading your systems and things, and kind of marrying the new with the old, you know. And I think in today's world where we have so much busyness, so to speak, you know, you can look at it and say, well, it's political or it's environmental or it's natural, you know, with disasters and this and that. But, you know, the world's always going to move forward at some point. And I think that a lot of people now are really looking for a place that reminds them, quote unquote, of home. You know, you was talking about the folks that come in and say things about, you know, I remember this or that, and your regulars that come into the restaurant and things to eat every day. And it's and for you, most definitely, a second home.
Absolutely.
You know,
I hear more than I am home.
And so to provide that, you know, for the community too, is also a blessing. And I'm sure you've been blessed by doing this over this many years.
Absolutely. And you know, just the relationships and things that I've been able to build, and the relationships with you know, with people. And I mean, in our employees that we've got, we don't have a whole lot of people that work for us, but everybody we do have that works for us, you know, our relationship that we've got, we're just good people. Right. And, you know, we've tried to associate ourselves with good people, and we've got good people in our clientele and our customers and stuff. You know, there may be a few, you know, bad apples here and there that we catch on a random Friday or Saturday night or something like that. But for the most part, it's very, this place is just special to me. My hope is when my time is done, that I've made a difference in this place, that it can carry on with whoever that might be at that point in time. And I hope that's not anytime soon, but you know, and it's just, I'm just glad that I can do what I can do to give this town and community something, what we've got to offer.
You know, I think so many times that we influence people in ways that we don't realize. We may say something or do something for someone at a time, to us it's just a fleeting moment, but that person may be very meaningful or impactful, considering on what they're going through. Absolutely. You know, but kind of changing it up a little bit, let's hear a funny story of an incident that's happened here in the bowling alley that just maybe when the family's sitting around, it's like, oh, you remember when so-and-so done this or that, or
there's all sorts of them. And I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, it all depends on what type of setting that I'm in to fit, because I've got stories, and some of them probably don't need to be told, that I've been a part of. Not that there's anything bad or illegal, but you know, I just remember I've just to put it out there. We used to do a thing on Thursday nights, and I know we had mentioned Adam Voth, that's a very good friend of mine that's worked for us, and we decided one night that we were going to have a college night with an all-you-can bowl on Thursday nights from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. And I think it was a whole $10. You could bowl all you wanted.
Oh, man. Okay.
So we started doing it on Thursday nights. First night, we had maybe 10 people show up. Next week, we had 15. Next week, we probably had 30. Next night, 45 or 50.
Right.
Flash forward 2 months down the road, there was 200 people in here. and it was just he and I working. And it got way out of hand, and I caught myself in the middle of, being a bouncer / working and hauling people out of this front door over my shoulder. And we agreed when we locked the doors that night, we weren't going to open them back up for something like that.
Right.
But I mean, and I've even had, a couple people that I've had to, have a
Little come to Jesus
with, that came back in. They're like, you know what? I'm sorry about that night, but it's things like those that stick out most. Right. And there's several others too, but just stuff like that. I mean, it's just a lot of good ones, good memories too. I just, and something that's a little on the newer side of things. We've started high school bowling. High school bowling's been a thing for years, but it's been in here for 10, 12 years, and we're up to 9 schools that bowl with us. And those memories that stick out is I'm fortunate enough to coach a team. I coached at Boyle County and have for 12 years. But just seeing all these kids from different walks of life become bowlers and enjoy a sport together, it really means a lot. And then just seeing those moments of these kids, down on the lanes and doing things, it means a ton to me. And, we sit around and talk about it when it's all said and done, but it's really opened an avenue for some kids as far as furthering education with college scholarships and getting them to the next level of college bowling and doing those things. But that's something that's real, dear to me, is seeing. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's helped the business side of things too, because it's opened, getting more kids and families involved. That's a plus too. But just those moments that these kids get to capture as a high school athlete that may not have been an athlete before bowling came along.
Right.
So that's something, on the softer side than me having to, be a bouncer, so to speak. But just you see all different things and that make you appreciate what you do, and that's something on the more recent thing that is really an enjoyment.
So we were talking about you as coach, or you still are coach.
I am still coach
here at Boyle County.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about sports a moment ago, and your primary sport like football, basketball, and things like that, you have a lot of physical exertion. But
Sure.
one thing that I don't think people realize, bowling is a very physical sport.
It's more than you think, for sure.
And the balls aren't light, number one.
Correct.
And I don't know, so I'm going to ask, how much does a pin weigh, a bowling pin?
Around 3 pounds.
Around 3 pounds. So that's 30 pounds
Yeah.
that you're knocking down at one time with maybe a 10 to 14 pound ball on average.
Correct.
Okay.
On average, 16's the max, but
Okay.
it's in today's world, it's pretty uncommon to have a 16-pound ball.
So
So you're probably 12, 14 pounds is very common.
and then now with most coaches that I've been under, when I was younger and things, which brand, so to speak, do you prefer, or is there a certain brand that you maybe unofficially endorse with the team? Or
Well, with bowling equipment, is that?
yeah, exactly.
At one point in time, Ebonite International was dear to my heart because it was made in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gone now. It
Yeah.
was bought out by Brunswick, and it's made in Michigan now, I believe.
Oh,
but it's
okay.
one of those. There's not a real dominant brand. I'm not on staff or a team member of any of those. I kind of use a little bit from everybody. But there's several good brands out there, as far as bowling equipment goes and stuff. But I feel like every company goes through their ups and downs, and they ride the highs when they can and make sure the lows don't last very long.
Right, exactly.
But anybody that bowls here, you see all these lockers up and down this concourse. Certain people are married to certain brands of equipment. Same thing with a golf club or a golf ball.
Right.
They use the same thing religiously.
Right.
A lot of people, same way with bowling. They don't mix and match what companies they use. I try to use them all just to try to, get a sample of everything.
Right.
But a lot of people, they fall in love with certain things, and I don't feel there's
It's our Ford and Chevrolet guy.
100%. And I feel
Right.
like, there's pros and cons to every company.
Right.
And you just got to sit back for what your bowling game and how you do things, and weigh the options and what's best for you.
I got you. So you were talking about working with children and stuff, and coaching, and now you see you have 9 schools that
There are 9 schools at Boulder, yes, sir.
come here to bowl and things. Give me a story, Zach, of a touching moment working with maybe when you first started coaching, or something just kind of sticks out to you with that?
I remember something that sticks and it's real close to me was in 2017. Our boys bowling team was fortunate enough to win the state championship.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And it's something that sticks with me because when we started our team in 2013, 14, we didn't have any idea I understood bowling.
Right.
I understood the game of bowling. I understood how to teach the game of bowling. But we had kids that understood that game too. But we had to learn how to compete as a high school bowler.
Right.
And we took some years that we were kind of, not, I'm not going to say we weren't the best, but we had some learning curves to learn how to put what we knew on that level. And in 2017, I remember we were at Eastland Lanes in Lexington, and won the high school state championship that year. And that's something that's always going to stick with me. It was just unbelievable. And, there's a lot of those kids that were on that team that, that I still keep in touch with today. And something that I hold dear to me is we still got a state championship ring and it sits on top of my desk. As soon as you go in the office door, it's sitting right there. I see it every day. And we've actually still got the trophy sitting in the office out there too. So, in the outer office. So, it's moments like those. And that's one that sticks out to me. We've had a lot of success since then. But that's the first one that comes to mind because, to be able to get, to the top of the mountain at the pinnacle of high school bowling in just 3 years or so was pretty remarkable. And just, like I say, those kids that were on my team then, I even bowl league with one of them today, still on the team with him on our Monday night league in the fall. So,
right.
It's just the memories and stuff with the kids and stuff and teaching the game, the love of my passion that I've got to trying to pass it on to somebody else. A lot of people will tell you, me as a coach on that side of things, I'm harder than every coach in here. And maybe I am. I just, we've got goals and expectations and, and I lay it out and how things work and how things go. And this is the way it's going to be. And, they show up and produce. And that's what I want. But we build relationships and things with, with these kids and we get on the same page. And we've been a very successful high school bowling team, over the course of our 12 or 13 years we've had a team.
Well, congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
That is great news. So many times you're talking about Zach as a coach as opposed to Zach as a business owner.
Sure.
A lot of times, and I took martial arts for a number of years, and it's very disciplined, and you have to be very focused and things. And the gentleman that taught me was a no-nonsense kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it commands respect.
It does.
And in doing so, it forces you to do your best, which gives you a higher self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And then if you're bringing more, then then the whole team is able to bring more as a one unit and
Absolutely.
move forward together.
100%. Yeah, and it's just, and I think back, and I just to throw it out there, I played football back in the day for Coach Chuck Smith, and I know some of you may know him. He was a no BS kind of guy.
Right.
And you showed up, you went to work, you did what you're supposed to do, and everything took care of itself. And I try to, not saying that bowling and football are the same thing, but my mentality is a spinoff of what I learned growing up playing for him and some things and just an appreciation of him makes me do what I do today and try to do it the way that he kind of showed me the ropes of doing as I was a player for him.
As a coach or anybody that's in development of people.
Sure.
Sometimes we have to kind of say the hard thing or, push a little harder when people have feelings and
Absolutely.
Sometimes they get, a little stepped on or things, but, it's all for the betterment of them.
Absolutely.
To bring them to that next level.
It's not always pretty and it's not always
No, it's
easy,
not.
but I feel like there's a mutual agreement as a coach with all the kids that are here that we want to get to the same goal. We have the same goals and the same places to get to. And I feel like, we can work together and get there. But like I say, it's not always easy in getting there.
Right.
We may butt heads and we may not get along, and there may be some times that, we may have some extra conditioning or something after practice, but
Right.
but I think we all agree that as a coach and then all the kids that I've got, boys and girls, that we want to end up in the same place, and that's hopefully back with multiple state championships.
Now, Zach, let me ask you a question here. For someone that may be watching the show who has a child, and maybe he won't do nothing but stay on the tablet or this or that, what would you recommend to those parents to maybe get their children involved in bowling or the benefits of doing that, or from a coach's standpoint?
There's so much today that kids can be doing,
right,
like you mentioned, on a tablet and doing this and multiple things, and but there's to get kids involved in bowling. I don't know of a specific show, but I can promise you, if kids like to be online, there's a kidsbowlfree.com website that you can go to it's a national program that we participate in, and kids at 15 and under get 2 free games a day all summer long. We participate in that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And it's actually still going until August 7th this summer. But kids 15 and under get 2 free games a day all summer long. Give them something to do, get them off the video games, get them off of the tablet, get them in here, get them bowling, get them doing some stuff. And I'd highly recommend doing that.
Oh, it's an amazing program. I love that.
It is. We've been in it for several years. A lot of bowling centers have got on board when we started doing it. A lot of people were like, "Y'all are crazy. You're giving games away for free." But it's just like I talked about, doing things for the community and being involved and getting kids in here.
Zach, would you consider yourself blessed?
Very,
very blessed.
Absolutely.
I do construction as my normal job, my 9 to 5, so to speak. And I feel like any of us who are successful and blessed in our business, it is our responsibility to kind of get back to the community.
Absolutely.
And to help out in those areas.
Yeah.
And to be a participating member in that program is a great way to give back, and to help those children. Like I said, you never know who you're going to reach at a certain moment.
Absolutely.
That really inspires them to maybe move to that next level or, become that pro bowler.
Absolutely. You never know. And like I tell the story all the time, our front doors, I feel like outside of Walmart and Kroger in this town, they probably open more than anybody else's. And you never know who's going to walk through those front doors. You never know what walk of life they're coming from. And you don't know. And there's been people that have come in that I've seen them evolve from first-time bowler at age 4 or 5 that have become, that have moved on and have, made a profit and made some money doing this game as they've gotten older.
Right.
So, you just never know. So, anything that I can do that will promote the game of bowling with giving back a little bit, I'm all for it. I like doing it. Our hands are tied on when we can do it all the time, but when I can, I certainly do.
So, Zach, on being a coach and being involved in bowling, I'm sure there's some movies that maybe stick out in your mind that involve bowling.
Absolutely.
What would be your favorite?
My go-to, Kingpin. Great movie. I've actually been in one of the scenes out of that movie. I think was at the National Bowling Stadium in Reno, Nevada.
Oh, very good.
And I've actually got to bowl in the same bowling center, maybe on the same exact pair of lanes that one of those scenes was filmed on, which is kind of cool. But I watch that movie often. I used to watch it all the time, but it's been a few years. But I still think it's the most iconic bowling movie there is.
Sure.
And Big Lebowski sticks out as well.
Oh, yeah.
When you think of bowling, you'd be surprised the amount of people that I'd mentioned, some people that there's actually like a Big Lebowski fest that they do. And I think it actually took place in Louisville.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, people that go bowl, but you'd be surprised the amount of people that we get that come in here that have a bowling ball that resembles, Roy Munson or all that, that type of stuff with the rows and things like that. But those are two of the main movies that stick out to me as far as bowling goes, and I think that they're two of the bigger movies that most of the community would know and understand.
Yeah, anytime I'm just clicking through at night and Lebowski's on,
you got to stop.
You got to stop.
You can't go by.
You got to see what Walter's doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And more or less with Kingpin too. It's kind of the same way. So,
two great movies.
Yeah. So in a moment, Zach, we'll talk about a little bit more of the history of the place and things like that, and things. So we'll be right back.
There's something about the smell of a sizzling flat top that brings you back to Little League trophies, birthday parties, and nights out with the family. At Danville Bowlarama, the food's got a story too. It's not just quick bites between frames. It's part of the whole experience. And if you've ever had one of their burgers, you know exactly what I mean. So when they stopped in, they had to try it for themselves. And let me tell you, they're not just keeping the lanes alive, they're keeping the flavor alive too. So next time you're here, don't just roll a strike, grab a burger, because at Bowlarama, even the food comes with a little history and a whole lot of heart.
We was talking about bowling in films a while ago. And of course, everybody knows who the Simpsons are. And of course, Homer's a big bowler, as everybody knows. Yeah.
Whoa! We won! We won!
But one thing that Simpsons are kind of noted for that people say is predicting the future a little bit, you know. And so, kind of revisiting the history here, coming back from the 60s, and kind of brought us through, and your parents had ran the place and acquired it and things when you were extremely young. I think
young.
You said maybe a week old.
Week old, yeah, right at it.
Okay. And then kind of bring us up, you know, from that point till now, and then what do you see, Zach, for the future of the Bowlarama here in Danville?
I just looking back, I mean, I still remember when we got rid of wooden lanes, put in synthetic lanes. We got rid of the old telescore handwriting score sheets and got in, you know, with the automatic scoring. I remember those times as they came along, and then like I say, we're getting ready to upgrade to a brand new scoring system with, you know, 50/50 at 5-inch televisions on every lane. And I just feel like it's the start of, you know, continuing to grow and evolve, and just trying to, not saying that what we did, it was time. It was time for an adjustment. It was time for a change, but the hard part was letting go of the old nostalgia feel and look, but I've convinced myself that it's still going to be here, just with a newer style to it. But I you know, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. You know, like I talked with high school bowling, our league bowling's great, our restaurant business is great. And it's everything that we've got doing, and it's my job just to try to, you know, stay ahead of the game with ideas and everything that's out there that, you know, we can continue to give this town, this community, and this area, you know, a place to go, a place to just come be them, a place to come relax, a place to cut loose, however you want to word that, and just, you know, do some small and fun things, and you know, and you know, there's a lot of things that we used to do. I'm going to plug this. You know, we used to have live music. That was one thing my dad enjoyed, but it's something we kind of got away from, you know, 18 years ago. Maybe, you know, bring something like that back. Something that I've got on my radar to possibly do, and some other ideas. And but it's certainly something that I would like to do. So
possible expansion maybe in the future then.
Maybe a little bit here and there. Yeah.
A little teaser, maybe.
A little teaser, you know, just to drop that. You know, my mind's always working, you know, my ideas are always flowing. A lot of the times the ideas that I've got are too far-fetched to really become a reality. But there are some things that I really feel like that we could pull off that I would really enjoy doing. But, you know, I've got to remind myself, you know, just one thing at a time. And then the scoring system and some other, you know, small upgrades within the bowling center itself coming soon. And then we'll turn the page and try to do some other stuff once we get that stuff done and established.
You know, I think if money was no option, we'd all change the world, right?
Well, yeah, if money was no option, you know, there'd be bowling centers probably everywhere.
Right.
More than what we got.
So is there anything that you look back on, especially maybe going back to the time when you were younger with your parents and grandparents here? You know, you had mentioned looking around and basically seeing your family here.
Correct.
You know, and this being like a second home. Is there anything back in that time frame that you try to instill with maybe your kids that you're coaching, or the folks that maybe something that you took from them that you keep trying to, you know, make sure that doesn't go away, in other words?
Well, and it's even with, you know, my grandfather, I think when he was here, David Mahan, he you know, cooked on the grill, but he was always seen. He was always visible. Right. There's times you got to work more than you want to. You got to be here when there's maybe other things that you could be out and doing, but you're here, you're seen, you're visible. He was always interacting with the customers, always talking to people, you know, always, you know, just here, and to have seen that firsthand, and now to hear stories about that make And if anybody that you would be watching this, if I'm here, more times than not, I'm visible when I'm here.
Right.
I'm not, there's things I have to do in the office and things that I've got to go back and do that I'm not seen, but I try to be out and visible and interacting with people and cutting up with people and just being me, and just being visible and getting to know people. And like I talked about earlier, the relationship that I've built with people, I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Right.
And there's people that when they first walked through these front doors, I didn't know them from at any time. And now I consider them people that are, dear to me and my family.
Right.
So, and this place has brought me a lot of satisfaction in lots of ways. And that's why I'm just trying to continue on with what's here, but trying to modernize while I'm doing it.
I got you. So Zach, is there a favorite lane here at the Bowlarama that is Zach's lane that he always plays whenever he's bowling?
Well, when I was a kid growing up, I always bowled on lanes 15 and 16.
Uh-huh.
My vision in that was it's right in front of the front doors, and when people walk in, I was like, you can't get noticed or you can't be seen if you're not in the middle. And I was right here in front of the front door. So if you came in here 25 years ago and caught me as a 14, 15-year-old kid, chances are I was bowling 15, 20 games a day on lane 15 and 16. And for some reason, that just became the special lanes to me. That was, the lane surfaces have changed now. They're synthetics compared to wood lanes that they were then. But to me, I just feel more comfortable there. Not that they're any different. I can promise you they're all 60 feet long, and the oil pattern that's on them would be the same for league play.
Right.
But 15 and 16, for some reason, when I'm there, I just feel comfortable, probably because I've bowled a million of games there.
So you may have a lot of reservation for those two lanes in the future now.
Maybe 15 and 16, but
Right.
no, I'd like to say it's just in front of the front doors, and and then it was just the place when people walked in. That's the first two lanes you see is 15 and 16 because they're front and center. Because that's what some people don't realize is something that this place, when it was originally built, was 16 lanes. Lane 9 used to be lane 1. They built on lanes 1 through 8 in 1975. So
Okay.
yeah, that's just people. Some people don't realize that, but yeah, started as 16 lanes and went to 24 and 75.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So I imagine that was a big thing at that point, adding those extra lanes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that they would, I think 28 or 30 lanes is what they wanted to go to, but somehow, some way in the ordinance of building on, they couldn't get any closer to the road.
Oh, I see.
I'm not sure
Okay.
of that, so they settled on 24. So
I got you.
that's where we ended up. It's 24 lanes.
I got you. So Zach, if there should be someone that's in high school, or an educator, or maybe someone that's interested in starting a program at their school for bowling for children and things, is it safe to say they could give you a call and pick your brain and kind of
100%.
get some tips on
and help
how
any
to
way
get
I
that
can.
going?
Don't-
And-
I let it be known, like, sure, I coach a school, but I'm more worried and invested in the growing the sport of bowling and giving back to the community and things. I would help any way that I could. I still remember, when West Jessamine, they came here 12 years ago and talked to us about moving their bowling program here because of the bowling center in Nicholasville, where they had bowled at, was going away.
Mhm.
So at that point in time, I really took it upon myself. I reached out to a lot of schools. A lot of time got rejected, about starting a high school bowling program, but
Right.
a lot of the schools that said no originally are on board now, and most local schools are there. But I am all for, even if you bowl someplace else, if you're, bowling at another bowling center, I can help any way possible as far as what to do behind the scenes on starting a team. And even if you want to get as technical as some, how I run my practices and things as a coach on my side. So I see a lot of the sides of it, from the business side of it, the coaching side of it. I mean, I'm involved hands-on with all of it. So would be more than glad to talk to anybody.
Well, there we go. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you can't get much better help than that.
No.
For sure.
No.
So if it's free, take advantage, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Zach, I'll have to say that it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today, and glad to have met you
And same to you.
and learn a little bit more about the Bowlarama here in Danville. And I've driven by here several times and been fortunate enough to eat at the restaurant.
Sure.
And great food, as you've mentioned, and things. And So, but definitely a place to bring the family, have some good, clean fun, and enjoy yourselves. And maybe the bouncing days are behind us.
They
now.
are behind me. They are behind me. But
So-
I've learned over the years that there's, you gotta pick your battles, and that's the battle I'm not going to put myself in position to deal
understand.
with. But no, and I thank you guys for doing what you do. I've now that I realize what you're doing, I've watched the previous episodes and look forward to this episode and the ones in the future and what you guys do. It's really a cool thing that you're doing, highlighting this town and things in this area.
Well, that's one thing that Brenda and I agreed on whenever we started Hollow in the Hill, is to preserve that history that, there's so many people that have just amazing stories.
Sure.
That you'll walk past every day, maybe in Walmart, or you'll see them at the bank or something, and you may know who they are, oh, well, that's Billy or that's so.
Sure.
But not really know the history and maybe some of those stories that those people have. And it brings me a lot of joy just to bring that out and to get and to set and to be the one to discover that,
Sure.
with those individuals. I really enjoy that. And I've had a blast talking with you today and really appreciate you and allowing us to come in and to be a part of this today.
100% perfect. I enjoyed it. This is something that I, when Brenda had asked me about, doing it, I didn't hesitate. I something that I wanted to be involved in. And then, like I say, when I saw the episodes and things that you had recorded and done stuff, I said, you know what, this is cool. This is something that this town and this area needs, because there are a lot of things and a lot of people in this area that I feel like could have a lot of beneficial information that you could tap into and learn and expose to other people that may not know anything about it. So it's very cool.
Sincerely, thank you very much.
Not a problem.
I want to say thank you to the Cooleys and the Mahan family for being a part of my family, making me a part of their family, honestly. Since I was 14 years old, I started bowling, and I would come here every day after school, and my dad ended up making me get a job here so I could get the employee rate for $1 a game so we could afford for me to bowl every day. And I just appreciate the Cooley family. Zach's mom, Terry, was my first coach ever, and she got me hooked on it even more. So I just appreciate the small town bowling alley and them maintaining it through all these years and keeping it nice and fresh for the community.
Thanks for all the love and support of Danville Bowlarama for our first 65 years that we've been here in business. I know my grandparents, from what they started back in the day, that my parents carried on and showed into me. And we look forward to being here for many years to come, and come by and check out all the new upgrades that we've got coming your way in the near future.
He's not just thanking you for coming, he's thanking you for remembering, for showing up when so many places like this get left behind. This isn't just a bowling alley. It's where his family poured their life into something they hoped would matter. And because of you, it still does.